Today, March 7th, 2026. Last few days, we were discussing about the importance of respectful and continuous practice in order to gain the benefits of this practice. So, in order to be able to practice respectfully and continuously, to be mindful of every objects arising on that very moment, we need to have Viriya, Viriya effort. Effort is very essential factor in the practice. If we don't exert effort, we will not be able to practice respectfully and continuously. We will not be able to note every arising objects. So Viriya effort is very um, important factor in this Satipatthana meditation. Viriya effort. It is the Pali word Viriya, simply translated as effort, but it is a kind of courage. Viriya, the state of courageous person. A person is called very courageous because he has the courageous effort. So this Viriya effort, simply translated as effort, but in Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the Buddha used the word Atapa. When we recite the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, there is the word Atapi. So Atapi is a person who possesses Atapa Viriya. So effort, it is necessary all the time in the practice, not only in the practice, in our everyday life, in our daily life. Too, we need this effort. We should have this effort. If we apply effort, if we exert effort, we can gain whatever we wish to gain. We can earn, we can study, we can gain high degrees. We become successful if we exert effort. Even in daily life, only if we are active, only if we exert effort, then we do the exercises for our physical body. Sometimes we are told to do exercises, but sometimes the mind is very lazy, the mind does not want to do. So we need to exert effort to do exercises for the good health. So in daily life, if we want to be successful, then we should have the kind of effort we should exert that, then we become successful in our life. So too in the practice, we need to have this effort. Then only we gain the benefits of the practice. We need to invest an effort to gain the fruits. Therefore, um, in the practice, especially at the very beginning of the practice, and also for the very beginners, the effort is very crucial factor, because this practice is not an easy practice. We have to follow the schedule from early morning till late night. Sometimes we our health, sometimes we may feel or not healthy, we feel very sick, sometimes very weak, sometimes the sleep or not enough sleep, we feel tired physically and mentally, we feel very very tired, and we don't want to move, the mind becomes very lazy, the mind becomes very frozen. So at that time, if we don't exert effort, then we won't be able to overcome those hindrances, those distractions. Therefore, the effort is very essential. And at the beginning of the practice, we should have initial effort, which is called aramba dhatu in Pali. Initial effort after listening the instructions, and when we start to practice, then we should have this initial effort to keep our mind on the every arising objects. We need to propel this mind to the object. If we don't push, if we don't send this mind to the object, then the mind will not reach the object. So that pushing force, propelling force, that is viriya, that is very uh, necessary especially at the beginning of the practice. And sometimes we become very lazy. The mind does not want to move to the objects. The mind is like a frozen water. We cannot move the mind from one object to the another object. And at that time, many kinds of hindrances may arise. When we have a difficulties in the practice, when we feel very tired, we will be looking for the comfort. We will have a strong desire for the happiness. And sometimes um, we may be very disappointed with the situation that we are encountering, and sometimes we may have lots of doubt regarding the practice. So many kinds of hindrances. And again, this mind, the mind always wanders here and there. The mind does not want to stay on the object of meditation. So many kinds of hindrances can arise, and if we do not exert effort, we won't be able to overcome those hindrances, and those hindrances occurs for quite long time, and that makes the mind more lazy. So in order to overcome these hindrances, we have to exert effort. We just need to put more effort, and later on slowly we will be able to overcome those hindrances. Those hindrances or defilements are um, those hindrances or defilements makes our mind heavy. The mind becomes heavy because of the moisture of kilesas. Kilesas are like moisture. They make our mind very damp and heavy. Therefore, we cannot move this mind very easily on the objects, one object after another object. We cannot spread this mind. The mind become frozen. Like when the frozen butter, we cannot spread that frozen butter on the bread. We need to heat it up. So too, when the mind becomes frozen, we cannot uh, move this mind to the objects. In that situation, the Viriya is very essential, and not an ordinary Viriya, ordinary effort. We do need Atapa Viriya. Atapa is translated as ardent effort. Its meaning is the effort that can dry the moistures of defilements. When there is Atapa Viriya, the moistures of defilements will be dried up. So if we have that type of Atapa Viriya, the noting mind becomes more active and alert. The noting mind becomes more swift. Therefore, in Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha said, when to note the objects, the four objects, Kaya, Vedana, Chitta, and Dhamma, repeatedly, one should have that Atapa Viriya, which can dry up the kilesa moisture, the moisture of defilements. So if the mind is covered with that kilesa defilements, the mind becomes very heavy. It becomes sluggish. The mind becomes very thick. So if we do not exert that Atapa Viriya, the mind shrinks inside. And that type of mind brings difficulties. And that type of mind is very dangerous to the practice. So, Atapa Viriya, the effort that can dry up the kilesa defilements, need to be exerted. Then only we will be able to observe the objects continuously. But again, sometimes we become very lazy, especially when we experience the severe pains. We cannot endure the pain and we want to give it, what we want to give up the practice. So at that time, we also need to exert more effort. We need to exert more effort in order to overcome that situation. So when we exert more effort, we will be able to overcome that type of uh, mind, so that we will be able to overcome that type of mind. And then again, when we continue to exert effort until we reach our goal, then it can be said that our practice is now successful. So this effort in the practice, especially at the beginning of the practice, is very essential to dispel the hindrances, especially the laziness, sloth, and torpor. Because at the beginning, the most nearest enemy of the yogis is sloth and torpor, laziness. So here, laziness means the sleepy feeling, yes, sloth and torpor, sleepy feeling, and also the lazy feeling that we don't want to do anything. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to do sitting meditation. We don't want to note rising and falling movement of the abdomen. We don't want to note the other sensations occurring in the body. We don't want to note the wandering minds. We don't want to do walking meditation. And we don't want to uh, uh, note the daily activities. So that type of lazy mind. Though mentally we are very fresh, but still we don't want to note the objects. That is also thina mitta. Not only the sleepy feeling, but laziness also the thina mitta. And this type of thina mitta is a very dangerous enemy for the yogis. So, in order to conquer, in order to suppress this tinamita, we need to have effort. We need to have effort. Therefore, if we have effort, that effort will not um, receive the kilesa defilements. It will dispel the kilesa defilements. It will uh, prevent the kilesa defilements from entering into the mind. Only when we have the effort, then our six sense doors will be well protected from the defilements. Whatever object appears in the six sense doors, in eye door, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind door, whatever object appears, if we exert effort to note those objects immediately, then kilesa defilements will not enter into the mind. Therefore, this Atapa Viriya is very essential. The example given in the text that there is a hot, very hot iron ball. So when that iron ball is very hot, no insect goes near to that iron ball. If if an insect touches that iron ball, it will die instantly because of that heat. So too, if we have that atapa effort, the ardent effort, then kilesa defilements do not arise. That atapa ardent effort will dry up that kilesa defilements immediately. And then our six sense doors will be protected. But sometimes, though we know that we should exert effort in the practice in order to be able to observe every mental and physical phenomena occurring in that present moment, sometimes we cannot. We fail to exert effort. Many times we fail to exert effort. So, what to do at that time? How to deal with that problem? We know every time we heard in the Dhamma talks that a yogi should have an effort, a yogi should exert effort. But we are failed. We cannot exert effort, though we know. The mind is just very sluggish. The mind is very inactive, dull, and we don't see the objects clearly. The mind becomes more dull. We becomes more lazy. So in that situation, sometimes we need to reflect on some facts. We need to uh, think about some facts that can help us to arouse effort, energy. In the text, we can find many causes for arousing effort. Among them, in one discourse, the Buddha has mentioned about the 8 causes, 8 causes for the arousal of effort. We have to reflect on that. In our
Recording
life,
in progress.
sometimes we may have some work to do in near future. So if we can reflect this way, oh, I have some job, I have some work to do in near future. When I will be doing that work, I will not have a time to do this practice. I will not have a time to do this practice. Therefore, now I am having this opportunity to practice, so I shouldn't be lazy. I should exert effort because this present moment is very precious time. This is very precious time, so I should exert effort. When I will be doing that work, I will not get a chance to practice. Now I am having this chance, so I should exert effort. If we reflect on that way, then the mind becomes active and alert. This is the first cause for the arousal of uh, effort. And the second one is sometimes we have done our work. We have finished that work. Now we are free, for example. So in that case, sometimes we can reflect this way. When I was doing my work, I didn't get a chance to practice. I didn't get a chance to practice. Now I have this chance. Now I have the time to practice. So I need to exert more effort in the practice because while I was doing work, I couldn't get a time to practice. Now I get this time. So I should exert more effort. So why we need to exert more effort? In order to gain the Dhamma that we haven't achieved yet. So reflecting that way, then reflecting that way too makes the mind active and alert again in the practice. And also the another way of reflection, the Buddha mentioned that sometimes we may need to go on journey. We may need to go somewhere. At that time also, we can reflect this way that, oh, I have to go on journey. I have to go somewhere. So while I will be going on journey, I will not have a time to practice. Now I still have time, so I will exert effort in the practice. So that way also we can make our mind more active. And again, when we are back from the journey, we can reflect like, while I was on journey, I didn't get a time to practice, but now I am back. So now I got a time. So I will try my best. So reflecting that way also, the mind becomes more active and alert. And another way of reflection is sometimes we may not get the food, appropriate food for our health. We may not get enough suitable food for our health. And in that case, we can reflect that, oh, today I did not get enough suitable food for myself. So my body is very light and comfortable. So reflecting that way, because that light body, when the body is very light, it is comfortable. So, oh, my body is very light and comfortable. So it's easy to exert effort. I can put effort in the practice. It is easy to note the objects, keeping the mind alert. So reflecting that way also helps the mind to exert effort to keep the mind more active and alert. Actually, this discourse was given to the monks, and the monks, they need to go for alms round every day. So when they go for alms round, sometimes they receive enough food, but sometimes not. So the Buddha encouraged them to reflect that way. When they do not receive enough food, then they can reflect that, oh, today the food is not enough, so I am not full. So my body is quite light, quite comfortable, and I can do my practice comfortably, thinking positively. And another cause is, another way of reflection is, sometimes we get the enough suitable food for our health. We get appropriate food, and after having that appropriate food, after taking that food, then we can reflect, oh, today I received enough food, enough appropriate food for my body. Now I am quite strong. So I should practice diligently. So reflecting that way also helps the mind to exert effort in the practice. When we are strong enough, the body, when we feel the body is very strong and fresh, we can focus our mind on the objects of observation. So that is another way of reflecting in order to arouse energy. And again, the Buddha mentioned about another way of reflection is um, sometimes we might be sick, this like uh, we might be catched by cold or some throat pain, the mild disease, yeah, very minor illness. So when we have that type of illness, the slight illness, we should reflect that now I am having this cough, or I have this discomfort in the body, and this discomfort could get worse. So before this discomfort in the body, this illness becomes worse, I need to exert. I need to put more effort in the practice. So thinking of that illness, which could get worse in near future, having a fear of that illness before it get worse, I should practice diligently. So reflecting that way too, we can uh, exert effort. And the last reflection is sometimes um, after getting sick, we recover. And after recovery, we can reflect that way that I just recovered from the sickness, but this illness may come in near future too. Therefore, before I become sick again, now I should practice diligently. I should exert effort in order to be able to note the objects. So reflecting that way too, the mind becomes more active and alert. So these are the 8 causes for the arousal of effort, and it shows that the present moment is very important. The present moment is very precious. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't know what will happen tomorrow because the future is uncertain. The future is uncertain. Only the present moment is certain. Therefore, I have to do my job today. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. That way we should learn. Atsewa kitsa matapang. We should do our job today. Present moment is very important because future is uncertain. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. So all those causes shows that be in the present all the time. Take the benefits from that present moment. So in this Satipatthana practice also, if we analyze the instructions given here, the instructions always emphasizes of the present moment. Be mindful of the present moment. What happened this morning, that is not important. What happened this afternoon, that is not important. What will happen this night, tonight, that is not important. The important time is now. Now, this present moment is important time. So, whatever objects occurring at this present time, try to keep our mind on that object. Try to send the mind on that object. And sending the mind towards the object is the task of effort. The effort helps to send the mind onto the object. So effort has a characteristics of um, usaha. Usaha is exertion or striving, and this effort not only sends the mind towards the object, it also helps, it also supports other mental states, associated mental states to do their jobs. When this effort pushes this mind to the object, then the mindfulness occur, the awareness occur, and the mindfulness, when there is mindfulness, it prevents the defilements, and at the same time, the concentration will arise. The concentration keeps the mind more calm and collected on the object. And when the mind is calm and collected on the object, then knowledge or wisdom arises. So, because of the effort, the mindfulness, then concentration and wisdom arises. But they are arising at the same time, not at a different time. In each and every noting, consists of Viriya effort, mindfulness, sati, concentration, samadhi, and panya wisdom. But Viriya helps those mental factors to do their job. And because of that Viriya, the mind becomes always, um, the mind is always strong because of the Viriya. The mind will not collapse. The mind will not give up. Even when, even in encountering the difficulties, the mind will not give up. It continues to struggle. It continues to fight with those difficulties. Therefore, in Satipatthana Vipassana practice, we need to have the effort, we need to invest an effort, then only we can gain the profit from this practice. So it is not easy. The Satipatthana practice is the highest wholesome deed. This is not an ordinary wholesome deed. Not everyone can practice. Not everyone can do this type of highest wholesome deed. So when doing this kind of highest wholesome deed, then we need to invest the best effort so that we will gain the best profit from this practice. Therefore, may you all be able to exert effort to gain the highest profit from this Satipatthana practice very soon.